Walleye are often considered the premier freshwater food fish. They are a light-sensitive species, often feeding in murky or dim-lit water most. Walleye spawn in spring when the water temperature warms to mid-40s. They remain in the shallows a few weeks after spawning, and then in summer they search out cooler depths, although they may still move daily to feed in the shallows during morning and evening, and the depths may not have ample oxygen, which forces them to remain shallow. In fall, the fish move shallow again and feed heavily. In lakes, beds of vegetation draw walleyes in spring and late fall. Rubble shorelines invite spawning walleye. Post-spawn walleye hang around gradually sloping points near the spawning grounds. In summer, deep humps, irregular break lines, and reefs hold walleye, and they inhabit sharp dropping points in late summer and to late fall. In rivers, walleye cling to current breaks in rocky pools, as well as the tailwaters of dams in spring, and summer and fall. In winter, they often move to relatively deep muddy pools. Walleye can be finicky feeders, and baitfish and panfish make a majority of their diet. Walleye are schooling fish, and a variety of live baits, including minnows, leeches, and worms, will work with slip bobber rigs and slip sinker rig variants insofar as the baits are placed in the right spot. Walleye also sometimes scatter over flats and suspend due to oxygen, temperature, and food preferences. So in these cases one must cover the water by trolling plugs or spinner harnesses to be effective. Spinner harnesses are paired with bottom bouncers or three-way rigs and tipped with a worm, minnow, or leech. Downriggers, planer boards, and the advent of low-stretch, thin-diameter line help put many lures in the strike zone at once. One of the most popular methods for catching walleye is jigging, which imitates the wounded bait fish that they feed on. Jigs are versatile in that they can be slowly worked when the walleye are finicky and fast when the walleye are aggressive. Timber will attract feeding walleyes, especially if it's near deep water, from the pre-spawn period until fall, but spawning walleye prefer flooded brush. They will also favor submerged weeds for food, shade, and fishing right above the weeds or at the weed line is effective. Jagged rock bottom, similarly, is a favorite of walleyes. Crankbaits, minnow plugs, jigs, and spinner harnesses worked over weed beds and rock fields produce feeding strikes because they imitate baitfish. Low clarity water allows light-sensitive walleye to move into baitfish-rich shallows and feed aggressively midday. Early and late ice are generally the most productive times for ice fishing. Walleyes gravitate towards structures such as rock piles, sunken islands, inside turns, and shoreline points. Low light periods are most fruitful.